we are going to do testing. We are going to do health promotion. We are going to do what again now? Maybe environmental sanitation. Whatever it is that you're going to do, let it be clearly spelled out so that the community too will not feel like you told them one thing and now you're doing something else. If you people agreed on something, if you agreed on something with your leaders and you see that your budget cannot carry it, or some issues come up, some risks and dependencies come up that will limit you from fulfilling that promise, you have to communicate to them still that there has now been a change of plan. I just had to bring that in while we're talking about implementation, because if the community, if that school, if those people that you're reaching out to, that social class, if they understand with you what you're trying to achieve, it is easier for them to cooperate, especially when they see the benefit it has for them, all right? The benefits that is in it for them. So back to implementation and controlling, you have to keep track of people. Some people can have very wonderful ideas. They can have glorious ideas, okay, of how to go about this intervention. I don't have a problem with ideas. In fact, I encourage it. But you see, as a project manager, don't forget that in public health to do evidence-based interventions, which means that you as a project manager, you need to be clear on the evidence, on the proof that this thing will likely work, so that you can also convince others. All right, so you're keeping track of people and their wonderful ideas and their extras. Some people are naturally lazy. Some people are over ambitious. You know, some people want to really understand before they get going, which is good. All right. Some people just want to frustrate other people. So you're going to manage different sets of people. So people management is really a thing. All right, and you need to keep track of them. Now, for example, during the COVID-19 period, some projects were still ongoing, even though most of them were virtual. So imagine you as a project manager then, managing people. Somebody is there, you know, creating a website. This other person is there setting, you know, maybe creating a flyer. This other person is managing the Instagram group or Instagram account. This other person is doing this, and this other person is doing something else. There are so many people doing different things. You have to keep track of them. Are we still on track? Are we going to meet this our schedule? All right, you called the web designer. Where are we now? You call that your project sponsor. You give feedback to the grant manager. You give feedback to the chief executive officer. You need to keep track. All right, and carry all these people along. Then the scope of the project, you need to make sure that we are not dancing outside the lines. I have also said, you know, yesterday that these are not so rigid. Yes, but there's a reason why we have chose to stay within these three objectives. There's a reason for it. All right, it could be, you know, financial resources. It could be because of the time. I mean, if we are carrying out a project on gunfire violence, you know, maybe on adolescents in the past 2 weeks, that's not something that you're going to be taking long time planning now, isn't it? And the scope of that is very, very straightforward. It's very narrow. We're not confused on what we're trying to achieve. So as a project manager, you're going to have to control that scope. So when I say, okay, since you're working on this, let us also, there's an urgent situation on ground. It is your duty to remind them of that and keep everybody focused. All right, and of course, to keep track of the budget and the timeline. So the last 2 points I made here, regular communication of progress. It's so important. We're going to be talking about the stakeholder engagement strategy in a short while. And you're going to see that it is very, very, very necessary. Now, not everybody needs to know, you know, the entirety of what's going on. There are different levels of stakeholders, but at each level, you need to know how to communicate with them. You know, what depth of information do they need for them to still have interest in your project, okay? All right, so let's move on. Let's move on. I think this our PowerPoint. actually been giving some issues. I don't know why. Please give me a moment while I try to sort this out. All right. All right.
All right, we just made ourselves a plan. Look at this plan. We're so good at planning. We're marvelous at planning. Yeah. Now all that is left is for us to do the plan. Ah, the doing, yes. Yes, the doing. Take a 5-minute break, 10 minutes, 1 hour to get the plan.
All right. So I hope you saw that video. It was just for me to reinforce that. It was just for me to reinforce that in project management, you do not forget the plan, okay? Yeah, it's not like in your personal life. Sometimes you make plans and you say, you know what? Let's do something else. Or let's forget the plan. Let's do something else. In project management, you do not forget the plan. So I just added that for emphasis sake, really. For emphasis sake. Okay, so let me see if this will move on. Honestly, I do not know why that PowerPoint is giving us challenges this evening. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay. You know what? I'm going to, okay. All right, project closing. Yeah. So we have initiated the projects, we have planned the projects, we have executed the project, we have watched it. You know, there were some issues in execution, there were unexpected things that came up, but we managed it somehow and somehow we were able to get our outcome. Now, we need to close the project. You don't just go to a community, finish the outreach, for example, pack your things and go home, and everybody just goes home. After that going home, you're actually supposed to come back, all right, and assess. This thing that we went for, what was it like? What did we do wrong? What did we not do wrong? This is what we said we wanted to achieve. Did we achieve it? We want to achieve A. Did we achieve B? Or did we achieve 70% of A? Or 90% of A? What did we achieve? What did we set out to do? And what have we actually now done? All right, so you're going to assess the outcome of the project. And a very important reason why we need to close a project is the documentation. The documentation is so important because we need to learn from what we do. Yes, get feedback from the stakeholders that you worked with, especially those who are so vested in it, those who put in money. I mean, if you've applied for a grant here, you would know that if you've applied for a grant here, you will know that I'm sorry, I think we're not even seeing my screen. If you've applied for a grant, you know that they're going to keep an eye on the project, all right? They're going to keep an eye on the results that you eventually get. Okay, so a very core reason why we do project closing, or why we take this phase very important, is because of what we learn, all right? The learning is so important. And we have to put it in into proper documentation so that when somebody else comes into the project, or rather when somebody else wants to carry out a similar project, they can learn from it. Remember, during planning, we said that you should even go and look for other people that have carried out similar projects or in similar neighborhoods, and they have worked on these kinds of things. What if they didn't record it? Then what are you going to work with? If somebody in Uganda, did a project on COVID-19, and then I'm currently in Nigeria and I go online, what if he didn't actually document it? What am I going to work with? Or rather, what help would I have gotten? Okay, so your own lessons that you learn from your own project can also be stepping stones for other people, even yourself. The next project that you're going to work on, you have background information, you have learned something from the last one that you can now implement, okay? And really, that's how people become consultants. You have done so many projects, you have managed so many things, and you've seen, different contexts, and you've worked in different environments. That's how your experience grows, isn't it? So yeah. All right, so document lessons learned, and then you have proper archiving of the documentation. It's good to have, like a proper folder or somewhere where you actually put this document so that these are all the projects that we've done in this organization since 15 years ago. And a new program manager or a new project manager can just go through and have an idea. Do you understand? And a very cool aspect of project closing is you celebrating success. Yes, celebrate success. Don't just say, thank you, everybody, bye-bye. No. All right, as much as you can, even within the community. All right, between those people who were voices for your organization, who convinced the layman, let's put it that way, all right, to cooperate with you as you collected their blood samples and ran tests. Yes, also go to them and, show some form of appreciation, okay? Just to develop the habit, really. Those who worked with you in your team, who went extra miles, some of you will still very late in the night putting together documentation, making phone calls, talking to people. Some people will use their own money for tea fare. Some people will even contribute to the project from their own pocket. You should appreciate these people, all right? And you should celebrate success. Now, the last point there is monitoring and evaluation. So after your project, we usually advise that you put together all the data that you were able to collect. And as much as possible, anonymize the data. All right, as much as possible, unless they are very, very sensitive, very, very sensitive instances where you need to keep the name so that we can actually go back to the community and verify if that particular person, has improved, depending on what it is, especially things like, drug abuse, sexual abuse, mental health. Yeah, some outreaches like that, some campaigns like that, we say, okay, keep the names, but of course, protect the file so that it's not just randomly available, all right? So it is good that you collect those data that you collected that you got from the community, all right? And do basic analysis, depending on, how big the data is, depending on what we can learn from that data, do some analysis, and let's learn one or two things from that data. And when you learn that thing, don't just leave it in your organization, share it. In fact, entire webinars are created now to convince public health professionals to actually share the data that they get. Because it is not just for Africa, it is not just for that community, it is now a global thing. So that thing that you've learned in Madagascar, it can be very helpful to somebody in Spain, all right? And depending on the particular field, the particular health, condition that you work on, there may be data centers already, data banks already rather, that are willing to accept this data. You can publish it in a journal, ResearchGate is there, all right? You can publish your findings so that the global space can benefit from it, okay? So, moving on. Essential skills in project management. Oh, I love this. I really, really love this because this is where we enter the soft parts. We'll be talking about hard skills, of being a project manager. This is soft skills, and most of your success as a project manager really, 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 really depends. Really depends on you. Like they really, really depend on you having the soft skills and demonstrating them within your team, in the community, in stakeholder engagement, and so on and so forth. Okay? So the first essential skill here is communication. Yes, dear. Now, I don't want to say if you don't like talking to people, but as a project manager, you are going to have to talk. You will talk and you will talk and you will talk. Yes, because it is good to make things clear. it is good to bring everybody on the same page. It is good to ask questions to understand the other person. When you're in the community, you and your team, you people, share yourselves. Okay, you go here, you go there. I would go to this street. I'll go to this set of households. I'll ask them questions. You have to listen. Communication too. Listening is involved though. It's not just you talking and talking and talking. The listening part is also very important. In your project team, somebody who has probably worked with a particular supplier before may have more information about that market than you do. The fact that you're the project manager does not mean you have all the information. So you need to listen to them. You need to listen. You need to listen to the beneficiaries. You need to listen to experts' advice. You need to listen to your own team members. Okay? And you also need to clarify things, clarify gray areas. When you are negotiating price, for example, when you're negotiating how to stay within the scope and the timeline, for example, web developers or web designers, for instance, they can tell you that, oh, it's going to take us 3 months to set up the site for this school. Maybe you want to do a mental health sensitization, or you want to create a community, right, for secondary school students or university students or high school students. They can tell you that it will take them 3 months to actually set up that kind of site. But when you do more research, you say, no, you can do this in 6 weeks, right? Communication will be very, very important there. You will need to communicate to them the urgency of the project. All right, you need to listen to them, explain to you the fine details. Perhaps you may actually need to wait for that 3 months, perhaps, I'm just saying. So communication is so important as a project manager. It is so important. Leadership, negotiation, problem solving, team building. You see, I'm sure everybody on this call, maybe I shouldn't take it for granted, but I want to believe that most of the people on this call understand the value of leadership. If people don't believe in you, if you're not a believable person, they really don't find any reason to really, work with you on a personal basis. They don't. That's the truth. So you need to have leadership qualities. You need to have leadership skills. Your emotional intelligence is so important. Somebody said, wahala for introverts. Now, not necessarily. In fact, introverts do very well with project managers. I mean, because they do very well with project management, because they have deep understanding. At least most of them have this deep understanding. They have this deep reflection, and so they do their best to understand people. All right, now the fact that they're introverts, that they don't really like talking, does not mean that they cannot communicate properly. So communication is not just about the opening your mouth and what's coming out. All right, so really, being an introvert or being an extrovert, and you also know that introverts, they can wear a costume and do what needs to be done and then go back to their shell. So really, it doesn't stop them. I mean, I'm an introvert, okay? So introverts can still do very well in project management, all right? They can still do well in project management. So let's move on. So leadership is so important. If people do not personally agree with you, at least on some values, okay, they will not give their all. They won't give their all. And because most times in public health, in health in general, there is usually a constraint somewhere. If it's not finances, it is human resource, it is the cultural beliefs of the people. There's usually one very tight bottleneck in public health projects. So it is very, very, very important that your own team, at least, does not pose a challenge for you. And so if you're going to be leading that team, it is also very important that you prove to them that, you know what, we can work this together. We can work together on this. And so they need to believe in you, all right? And you need to also know how to communicate the vision and the mission of the organization to them very clearly, and the objectives of the project. So you can see that communication also comes into leadership, right? Now, negotiation. You're going to be negotiating with stakeholders, because the truth is some stakeholders are there for what they can gain. Some people just want the social media reps, okay? Some people just want their name to be, part of partners that collaborated with us on clinical. Some people are there for personal gain. Some people want to extort you, especially vendors. Especially vendors. Those people, oh my goodness, fear them all. So negotiation is so important. Before you even benchmark this price, okay, this is what we're going to spend on cervical cancer test kit, you must have done your own research, isn't it? And then you put out a statement of, then you put out a request for proposal, right? And then contractors, they contact you that, okay, this is the amount we can give you for this number of kits, something like that. You need to know how to interact with them and get a good price. Okay? You also need to know how to communicate to the community people. So that will tell you, this organization is a very big one. People can come and build this school for us. You will need to calm them down that, okay, well, SARS and MARS. Actually SARS, this is what we can do. Because once they hear NGO, their mind starts to travel very far. You have to bring them back. And that is also negotiation. You have to bring them back that, please, actually, this is what our post can carry. Okay? Or even if it is not a financial constraint, maybe it is a thing of scope. You see that, okay, we see that this is a problem in your community, but our project cannot actually cover all of this. So we're just going to focus on these two. Please bear with us, all right? Then now show them how, at least focusing on those two, how we can help them in the meantime. In the meantime. So this is also negotiation. All right, so it is so important as a project manager. Claudia said it's so true. Is that from experience? All right. Okay, let's move on. Problem solving is another skill. It is so, now problem solving is, now, even though I have said that as a project manager, you're not carrying everything in your head, you're not making all the decisions by yourself. It is good you have that critical mind. It is good that you have that analytical mind. It is very good that you have it. So that when we say that these women 45 to 60, they come down with forgetting breast cancer, let's say around 60 to 65 years old. All right, and then you have to go into the community. You need to know how to generate those questions to ask the community leaders, to ask the women themselves. In that teaching hospital, you're going to be going to the general surgery clinic, and you're going to be sitting with these women. You need to also put yourself in their shoes, all right, see the problem. Now, you may or may not be from medical background, I don't know, all right, but if there's a problem at hand, you need to say, what are the factors causing this problem? And then you also know how to generate those questions to ask those people, all right? If you have to approach the CMD of the hospital, if you understand the problem and you understand how your solution, helps in solving that problem, you'll be able to convince them better. So if you don't have that analytical mind, that critical mind, some people will bring suggestions to you that I think you guys should go about this in this way. Another person will bring another idea. This other person will bring another idea. Okay, you should bring all those ideas together and look at them in the context of the community, in the context of the resources that you have. You need a critical and analytical mind to do that. Okay, so problem solving is so important. So important. And in fact, as you're executing the project, some little things will just come up that you didn't even expect. If you can't think on your feet, people will just say, you did not know before, or they'll just, sweep it under the carpet, as if they were in the same shoe, as if they would have done differently. But let's not go there. Okay, so those are some of the things that you shouldn't take personal. But it is good that you have that analytical mind, all right, so that at least you can minimize the losses, or minimize the oh, we are sorry, we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that, I didn't see that coming, all of that. Yeah. So team building, organizational skill, you need to know how to bring people together, how to build a team, how to make everybody believe in the project, all right, how to make everybody give their all, give their best is part of leadership, all right, team building and organizational skill. Why I won't focus on this is that our next speaker, which will be coming up in a few minutes, okay, she's going to be talking to us on team building, so I'm not going to dwell so much on that. than influencing without authority. The fact that you're the project manager does not mean you have authority over everybody in your project team. In fact, in very large organizations, maybe not very large, but at least in organizations that have quite some structure, okay, the people in your project team, they may just be delegates from different other teams, different other units that just come together to work on that project. So you're actually not their head in the real sense of it. And some people may just have this attitude towards you. So you need to know how to influence people even when you don't have organizational authority over them. That one is a full topic on its own. It is a full topic on, I can't even go into it. But take note of that and do your own personal research on how you can learn how to influence people without you being their boss. Yes. And in project management, please don't even think that you're any boss. All right. Don't even approach people with that mindset. It's not even going to help you. Because people will be like, what's doing yourself? Please shift. And then they begin to give you attitude and people don't give the all to a project. There's no point. There's really no point. All right. But in those situations where you actually do not have that organizational authority given to you, all right, you have to know how to still influence people to work with you, to cooperate, and to give their best. As a project manager, you need to know how to delegate. If you are all those people that say, I can do it all, if you like, go. Oh my God. It won't be funny. It will not be funny because the truth is projects, there are a lot of aspects to it and it's just easier. You take care of this, you handle this. The way I see it, all of us will build capacity together. We all learn together. We take a little bit of problem and we solve it together. So you need to know how to delegate. Of course, in delegation, you have to give a job to somebody who has at least some level of skill or at least some level of interest in that thing. Okay, so you need to know how to delegate. You do this, you do that. And when you're delegating, make it clear. This is what you are doing. This is the time frame in which I expect feedback. You need to make it very clear. Because people will say, hey, I thought you said this other guy should do it. I thought it was this other lady. To avoid all those confusions and miscommunications, say it very clearly. Who is handling what? Okay. So some other skills that you should have are budget management and data analysis skills. Now, I put plus or minus data analysis because data analysis is quite broad and it also depends on the level of data, okay, on the kind of data. So some project teams may have data analysts as part of them. Sometimes in bigger organizations, after a project is ended, they can actually give the data to the data part of the organization to organize the data and make sense of it. So it really depends on the context, okay? So you may or you may not have data analysis skills. It doesn't lessen you in any way, all right? So let me rush now. I just put the slide here, negotiation, very important, all right? This is what you should ask yourself. If you're going to go into a negotiation, let's say you're going to meet the traditional ruler of a particular community, just look at these questions and prepare your mind, okay? Prepare yourself. Who are you going with? What do we want to actually get from this stakeholder? All right, so these are really basic questions. I won't dwell on them. You can always go through the slides eventually. Let me move on. Yes. Stakeholder engagement, guys. As a project manager, you're going to meet people. You're going to, sometimes you even beg. Yes, let me say it. Sometimes you have to beg. It can happen. It can happen, my dears. It can happen. Okay. Stakeholder engagement. You have to meet people. You have to engage people within your team and outside your team, people within the community, people in the health, in the policy space. If you're into advocacy, you can imagine all the people that you have to meet. Okay. So how do you go about it? You have to define the purpose. Why do I want to have the Minister of Health as a part of this project? Why? Why do I need this religious leader in this project? Why do I need this particular vendor or supplier in this project? Because if you're clear on what you want from this person, you will not enter their LinkedIn page, their LinkedIn messaging, or their email inbox. And you're just, talking, well, sir, we have this project that we're doing, and we're thinking, do you, please, could you? No, you know what you want, you go for it, and you make it clear, and you ask them, can they do it for you, yes or no? Can they help you with this, yes or no? You're going straight to the point, you're clear. Because if you do not know how to also draft your message properly, they will just look at it as one very unserious person. Who are these people? One of these people that want to collect money from me, and they just dismiss it. So you need to be clear. What do we want from this stakeholder? Is it funding? Is it that we want their influence? If the community people see that this set of people are part of our team, they'll likely listen to us. So what is the purpose? Why do you need that stakeholder on board? All right, then you analyze your stakeholders based on influence and interest. So let me just show you. Let me show you this. Now look at this. This is actually from the NHS. Okay. So look at it now. On the left-hand side, we have stakeholder influence, all right, which can be high or low. Below, we have stakeholder interest, which can also be high or low. So there's influence and there's interest. Some people are just interested, but they really don't have the influence to move things. That's true. That's true. Some people have a lot of influence, but maybe they don't even know that that problem existed, so they don't even care. Some people may have the influence and also have the interest. But if you don't do this stakeholder mapping, you will not do your communication right. You may just miss a very important person that could have really, really moved your project forward. So this stakeholder mapping is so important. And now, depending on where they sit in this our box, okay, you see that there are 4 here. We have those that we're just going to keep satisfied. If you see them, they have high influence, but they don't really have a lot of interest. They don't have a lot of interest. So you just keep them satisfied. You inform them on what's going on in the community. Okay, this money that you gave us, this is how it's been going. You just inform them, and then you also consult them. They may have some expert advice, okay, which you can get from them, but they're not really that interested. So you don't need to talk to them every day. That's the point. You inform them, you just keep them informed, and then you consult them when necessary. So you can see that when you know where the stakeholder sits in this map, all right, you will know how to engage them. Now, there are some that have high influence, all right, and they also have high interest. You work together with them. You inform them, you consult with them, and you also collaborate with them. You intentionally work with them. All right. Now, in this picture, there are examples of the kinds of people. So you can take your time and look at it, and then you properly understand the context in which this was mapped. Okay. Now, stakeholders who have high interest, but they don't really have a lot of influence, you also inform and consult with them. All right. But then it's not like those who have low influence and also low interest. You don't always, for example, now the general public, there are things that you put on Twitter. It's not everything that goes on Twitter. I hope you know that. You just want to inform the general public of your project. On Instagram, you just want to, some people just have that general interest, but they can't really move things. All right, so if you know those who can move things and those who just have interest, you will know how to engage them. Let me move on. Now, back to our stakeholder engagement. I wanted to show you something. This is how you can analyze influence. You ask yourself this question. So you and your team, all right, you people should ask yourself this question. Do they have decision-making authority? Do they have the power to make change happen for the problems that you want to solve? Okay, do they have power? Do they have power? See, this is called power. It is something, guys. It is something. Influence is really, really something. So if they can make decisions, for example, the traditional ruler, that person has decision-making authority. That person has power. You cannot neglect that person. In fact, if you neglect such a person, the project will fall flat on its face. All right, then interest analysis. Is there something that they may gain or lose if a program is implemented? I told you that some people are actually there for personal interest. All right, so don't forget that. What are the expectations? Can they commit resources? Are they supporters or blockers? Now, also when we talk about stakeholders, remember that we said that it's everybody that has a voice to that project. Some people can have a negative voice. So you also need to plan for those people. Yes, there's. And as you can see in the last question, do they get on with the other stakeholders, or are there potential areas of conflict? Okay, so you need to factor all of this in. Look at all the people that you need to bring into the table, that you need to bring on the table, and you analyze them. Where does this person sit in this stakeholder map? And then when you know where the person sits, you now know the best form of communication. Is it email? Is it WhatsApp? Like a project team, for example, their internal stakeholders, people can have a WhatsApp group, that's fine. If you're trying to get to the Minister of Health and you send a WhatsApp message, I don't know what to say to you. I hope you get the point. Okay, I hope you get the point. So you have to know the best form of communication. Also, you can ask them, sir, ma, what is the best way I can reach you? Some people are not social media savvy like us. You need to also ask them, do you need to go to their office? Do you understand? So you need to know what's the best way I can actually reach out to this person. All right. Now, let me also show you this. So there's a continuum. I hope we all can see this. Especially for larger projects, this would apply. Before you even bring some stakeholders to the table, okay, or you include them into your project, or you invite them into your project, okay, you first of all watch what they have been involved in before, right? Would their presence really make a difference? Would they help us gain traction? So you monitor, you look at these things. So right then you can now reach out to them. Okay, you can now partner with them and work with them on some projects or on one or two other things that you can consult with them. Now, it really depends on which kind of stakeholder it is, but this is like a continuum, all right? So you monitor, you message, advocate. You can really go through it later. Let me not dwell so much on that. The other speaker should be coming up very soon. Let's move here. Basic tools. So I'm just going to share with us 3 tools, just three. I'm not going to go into all the project management tools. You can go and bore yourself with that later, but these ones are needed in almost every project. Number 1, the Gantt chart. You remember, as a project manager, you are managing time, the schedule. We want to finish execution of this project in 9 months. All right, then we map this 9 months out. From January to September, you map it out on a Gantt chart, indicating the milestones. Okay, so if you look at this here, you see that we have dates. All right, then we have the tasks on the left. There are many variations of the Gantt chart, at least to some certain extent, and usually it's on Excel. But then there are also free templates everywhere, so you can really go and get the template and just plug and play. So it's really not that hard. Okay, it is a graphic depiction of the project schedule. Anybody that sees your Gantt chart, once your team members, once they enter that Excel file and they see it, they know where they fall in, they know when they should start, when they're expected to, to deliver on what they should deliver. Nobody's confused. It is clear. Of course, before you even put them on that schedule, you must have consulted with them. How long would this take? Okay, can you make it 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks? All right, do you understand? You must have consulted with them before you even put them on that schedule, so that you don't also have any, so you don't also have an unrealistic plan. Do you understand? Okay, so another one is the RACI chart. I had mentioned the RACI chart during planning. Who is responsible for buying the test kits? It needs to be clear. Nobody should be confused about it. Who is accountable? Maybe there's a subcommittee for purchase of kits. Maybe there's a subcommittee, and inside that subcommittee, there's one particular person who will be responsible for the purchase. All right, but then the leader of that subcommittee is accountable because he or she should keep his own member, all right, on track, on delivering on their responsibility. Who has been consulted? Who has been consulted about this particular issue? So we need to maybe reach out to the local government chairman. Okay, have we consulted with our, let's say, board of directors, all right? Or have we consulted with somebody, a key stakeholder in the community that can help us actually, gain access to that man? Have we consulted that person? Have we, who have we informed, or who has been informed of this task? So RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And usually I prefer when you use names, because when you say that we have, for example, if you want to say somebody has been informed, you can just say the director of who, of what are you talking about? Do you understand? But if you put a name there, nobody's confused, like it is very clear. So I usually prefer putting names, all right? And there are also many variations of the RACI chart. And now this also helps. So any other person in the project team working on a sub-deliverable, if they cannot reach you for one reason or the other, they can always go to the RACI chart and check who is responsible for this and who they can reach for what. Okay, it also makes life easy. All right, let's move on. The final tool I'll be sharing is the work breakdown structure. Yes, I really love this because it helps you know the milestones. Okay, you don't use it in managing the project like you do the Gantt chart. Okay, you don't use it the way you use the Gantt chart. It's not for managing the project, but at least to help you know the milestone, because you have to really break things down. And when you're breaking things down, you know what a milestone is, all right? And it is clear on what we need to deliver on. That's really what a work breakdown structure helps you with, okay? And these are the documentations that are necessary. So the project proposal, the charter, the change log, if things change, if the scope changes, if we make some changes to maybe the vendor that we use, or we said we were going to do HIV and HBV, but then we ended up doing only HIV, that change needs to be updated so that everybody sees the change that has currently been made to the project. So that somebody does not come later and say, when did we decide to change this? All right, so dates and time, who approved it, the change log is very, very important. All right, then the theory of change and the monitoring and evaluation plan. Okay, the risks register. These are the risks that we foresee in this project. This is how we manage them if they come up. Okay, so a risk register is very good, so that if those risks now come up, we will now know how did we actually manage them. Did we implement the plans that we had initially? So the budget and the procurement documents. If you buy some things and you have receipts, all those things, you have to keep them because those are documents. Okay, those are documents for legal issues. All right, I mean for legal reasons. Okay, so that's really where I'll be rounding up today. I want to check if Tomisin is here with us. Please, in the chat section, let me know. Let me get your feedback. Let me get your feedback. How has it been so far? How has it been so far? I want to see your comments in the chat section. Yeah, enlightening, awesome. I'm learning a lot, really enlightening. It's been expository and explosive. That is serious, so explosive. That's wonderful. And it was an amazing and impactful class. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to be sharing the link to the assessment very soon. I just want to confirm I just want to confirm that Tomisi is here. Please, Tomisi, if you are here, can you raise your hand? Let me see you. Please. Tomisi, if you are here, can you raise your hand? Let me see you. Friday, thank you. Peace. Oh, sorry about the network problem. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Olushola Alabi, very useful for every healthcare value chain. Yes, very useful, very, very useful. Thank you. I'm trying to confirm if Tomisi is here, our next speaker, so that she can start while we all, while you do your while you take your assessment. Please give me a moment. Oh, yesterday's network wasn't good. Oh my, thank you, Dr. Albert. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, okay. So I don't think she's here with us yet. Tomisi, please, if you are here, can you indicate by raise of hand, please? Please, so that I will know that you're here. While we wait for her, let me get the link to our assessments. The assessment is very simple, don't worry. Let me talk like one of my lecturers. You say, I'm not a wicked lecturer. And then you enter the exam hall and you'll be shocked. You'll be like, sir, what is this? Oh my goodness. Please forgive me. Oh my. So let me get the link, okay? I'm also still trying to, someone they said you get to see wicked questions. Honestly, yeah. Hey, yeah, lecturers. And you know, forgive me. I know this is a broad audience. I mean, I know, but I've taken some other foreign classes, yeah? And honestly, it's different. I don't know why our African experience is very, very, I don't know, let me not say interesting. But I've taken some other, you know, trainings and courses, and it's really not that toxic, you know, if you get my point. If you get my point. Yeah. So I've put in the link to the assessment. Kindly start. All right. Kindly go to the assessment. All right. And start filling them in. For some reason, Tomisi is not here with us. Please give me a moment. So you can take 5 minutes, okay, to be answering the questions, all right, on the assessment while I try to reach her, please. Thank you. I hope the assessment is very interesting. Please let me know when you finish with the assessment. Just indicate in the chat that I am through, I have filled it, and I am done. And then also let me know if it was as simple as ABC.